Finally got those push-ups out for you.
Looks like we're live.
We are live. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to the Ron and John Show. Here we are, Ron and John.
Brought to you by Veterans Lending Group. We're sporting our colors today, man.
Absolutely. We got it all over the screen, all over our hats, you know, living it. Obviously, Veterans Lending Group is bringing this show to the masses so that John and I can do our thing. You know, we saw this as an opportunity when we took that visit down at Fairchild and kind of springboarded from there, because if we weren't able to do it there physically, we'll still take it live, and it's been a phenomenal success. So, John, what do we, well, shoot, I guess, how the hell have you been, right? What's been going on?
Good, man. You know, it was Cinco de Mayo yesterday, and it was also my granddaughter's birthday. So Sandra and I went and spent time with my granddaughter for her birthday. Came back and had some margaritas, man. You know, nice. I had to take my margarita last night to show you that, we were celebrating Cinco de Mayo, man.
You're doing it. I saw that. I got that text. Well, you know, the same as I had the tacos, replied with you with making those with we had blood orange carnitas and chicken tacos, and I did some pastor and homemade salsa pico de gallo. Ended up doing is sending that over to Tacoma Police Department. So but my Ranger buddy Matty Waters, who's over there, he came and picked it up and took it out to the station, and then had to work last night at a boot camp, and you know, it's been going good. Education all week, of course last Saturday got to be in the garden again, man, being domestic.
Yeah. Hey, you know, you hit something right off the bat that we want to remind our audience. You know, the Ron and John Show is virtual right now because of the COVID-19, but Ron and I are going to take it on the road once we get on the backside of this thing. And so those that have invited us out to come on out, we didn't cancel, we postponed. So the Ron and John Show will be coming to a camp posting station near you soon, once it's safe for us to travel again. And I'm excited about that, Ron. We can get out and we can see the men and women that are serving and help them and their families as they get ready to transition, man.
Absolutely. You know, seeing what they can do to, just check those balances. And maybe it's, it's a retention tool too. Maybe they need to stay in.
Yeah.
And it's some questions that you got to ask for where you're at, where you're going, and so on and so forth. But then when they're ready for that transition, they say, heck yeah, then, that's what we're here to be able to provide, I guess the really best practices, or what I call where we screwed up.
Yeah.
So others don't have to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. If we make a mistake and we can prevent somebody down the road from having to, make the same mistake we did, then we're successful, brother.
Exactly. Absolutely. And if we could save one, one does another, and there we go. It's infectious, like this damn thing.
Yeah. So hey, big week this week, man. So Mother's Day Sunday, but also it's Military Spouse Appreciation Day on Friday, man.
That's right.
So I'm excited about this week, and I'm really excited about the show this week, man.
I am as well. I would say hats off and take my hat off, but y'all don't want to see that afro just pop out like that.
No, yeah. Mine either, man. It's haircut day for me too. So
exactly. I love it. I love the lineup that we have this week for the show. I'm going to be able to talk about, their experiences, struggles, victories, and also what they would have done, in transition or in life in general. And, I love that we have with the theme of this, of the show, as we continue to bring these awesome guest speakers on, is, a form of humility and responsibility that each person owns as they come in. And, I think just is we all just want to be better people, to be able to support others the best that we can, and sharing this stuff. It matters. It doesn't have to be fake.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, so who do we have this week, man?
Well, we have, there was one person that I believe that I read in some report that you filed a long time ago that was stalking you at a bar. Her name popped up, right? Her name popped up.
Yeah.
And also another person who has been a pillar in the community as well, who, the name of this couple sounds like two female names, but it's not. It's not at all. Yeah, I just always wanted to kid him about that. But no, we have 𝘂𝐶i Miller, who is retired Colonel Jody Miller's wife, and for I don't even know how long, 20, 30 years, I would say. You tell us, 𝘂𝐶i. There she is.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
We've been married for 26 years next month.
There we go. There we go.
Awesome.
And who else do we have, John?
Awesome.
Who's the stalker?
And we have somebody that absolutely was stalking me in a bar way back in February of 1983. Actually, the story was I was stalking her, and she gave me the Heisman initially, but we ended up linking up and getting married that same year, and we've been married for 36 years. My lovely wife, Sandra. Hon, how are you?
Good. I'll share that story with you another time because it's awesome.
Hey, Ron, you know what's great about having these two ladies? You know, obviously one is my wife, but 𝘂𝐶i is her and her husband, Jody, are very close personal friends of Sandra and I. We served together during the surge in Iraq. Her husband, Jody, and I served together in combat for 15 months. Sandra and 𝘂𝐶i had the same experiences during the surge there in 2007 and 8. And so she's putting her on this show, one, because of all the credentials she has, not only as a military spouse, but a professional military spouse in terms of she works too. And we'll ask her to talk about that. But that, we had the same experiences and hardships together back in 2007 and 8. So I'm excited to have you ladies on here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got where is it? I can't. On the video, it's backwards. I got my Raider bling on there, so.
Nice.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, okay.
Raider. I can't find it. Where? Oh, I got it. Raiders and Rangers. So.
Nice.
Awesome.
And I think the only button that I could have worn was retirement, baby, but I didn't wear that.
Oh, that is hilarious. I'm over trying to send it to my. There we go. Sharing that to my page there. Well, yeah, awesome. Thank you, ladies. And we actually, I got the opportunity to meet and actually hang out with Jody and 𝘂𝐶i when we were doing our VA Home Loan Boot Camp tour through Florida. We hit Tampa, and she actually helped me out. And you know what? I have to tell you, 𝘂𝐶i, you helped me out more than you know. So shortly thereafter, visiting them, John and Sandra, I had an incident with an alligator, and I was getting on a
alligator.
I was getting into a kayak. It didn't go very well, and it was in I forget which river. It was dark and murky and everything like that. And I flipped it upside down. The Volanos will tell you; they tell it way better than I do. It flipped upside down. I sure as shit thought there was an alligator on my ass, and I did one of these. As I like to say, I look like a cat crawling up a glass wall, and and I lost my phone. Right, my phone. It was like the third phone that I lost. And then 𝘂𝐶i sent me this thing. It was a floaty for the phone as well as a waterproof case, and I purchased both and haven't lost it since. So thank you.
We call that the flow life. There's a lot of experiences that we've been here almost 5 years now. There's a lot of things I've learned in waterproofing your phone with the floaty. So even though it's waterproof and it's floating down the river, you can still get it. You got to have both.
Yep, absolutely. So little fun fact.
Glad I could help.
Absolutely.
Hey, so Ron, if you don't mind, ladies, you're both, you spent years following, 𝘂𝐶i, you following Jody all over the world, and Sandra, you following me. Well, 𝘂𝐶i, I'm going to ask you first, and then Sandra afterward. Let our audience know, what does it mean to be a military spouse, and what are some of the things that, you've learned and you've taken from your experiences, having been a part of this institution for decades?
Sure. So Jody retired in 2018 after 27 years in the infantry. Like you mentioned earlier, he was in 4th Stryker Brigade, the Raider Brigade, obviously a variety of units. But I've done a presentation, a speaking opportunity a couple times, and I don't have the props with me. You guys are really lucky. But I've talked about what it is to be a military spouse, and I have the list here, so I'm going to just read down. But it includes everything from being, first of all, a mom and a babysitter sometimes a caretaker can not just mean for children, but for possibly wounded warriors or family members within the unit, right? So that's kind of all encompassing. I have written down, this isn't really the term that I would use, but trophy wife. And Sandra, tell me if you would agree. Not that we're trophy wives, but we're often, right, the spouse, the partner that is the one that, you know, does everything together, the resource, the person that they can talk to and all of that. Grief counselor. And John, I think, you know, you wanted to talk about this a little bit later, but that's a role that I've unfortunately had the opportunity to participate with, which has really provided me with some skills in my professional life as well. Fundraiser, and my prop for the fundraiser is a little cupcake container, right? I used to be known, you know, everybody's heard of the hot dog sales or the bake sales, but I did meatball subs, and I was known from my meatball sub sales because we would cook those meatballs in the sauce and everything, and the aroma would just spread throughout the, you know, the building, the facility that we were using. And so that was a big fundraiser. Hostess, I've had 1,000 people come for a New Year's Eve celebration at my home. You know, I say saint because sometimes, you know, you have to put on your halo and just be that person that someone else needs for you to be, that you know, role model maybe. Some cheerleader, sometimes a magician, right? So you have your magic wand because people are expecting you to make things happen that maybe are challenging. Superwoman, I have a cape that I bring when I talk about how, you know, sometimes we have to be a superwoman. And I'm going to just take this time to say, you know, my experience with Jody in the infantry has been that spouses are women. I know that not all spouses are women. I think it's 96% of spouses are women, but a shout out to the male spouses too. I mean, no disrespect when I don't include them. Secret keeper, referee, plumber and mechanic, because sometimes you got to fix stuff that your spouse isn't around to do. And of course, you know, professional life as well. So it's certainly all encompassing. So many skills that I have learned from being a military spouse. I really value the opportunity, and it's something that has made me, and I think most military spouses, very resilient, and just have you know, great soft skills that are translatable to lots of different things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know,
Sandra. Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
I was just going to piggyback off of that last part of that.
Yeah.
That there's so many skills that that as a military spouse has to offer, because you might know, you know, VLG, we've hired several, right? And it's like they're little, I mean, they are moms, but they're little moms that are around, like, that are just like so caring and giving, like, whether that be like, you know, cookies and the fundraising, and you see that stuff pop around everywhere, and you're just like, okay, this is awesome, and it's super familial, you know, like,
Yeah.
like when Sandra, you know, came in, it was like, oh, here's another one, you know. Yeah.
I was the original Veterans Lending Group military spouse. I used to work for Veterans Lending Group a long time ago, and I was the original spouse. And that's a great story too, because Brooke Villano, who of course is the manager, you know, we had a great conversation, and she invited me to be a part of the team, and she was a little skeptical, you know, worried that I was going to leave, you know, in whatever time period. And I hope that she found it valuable, and I think that she did, considering that she continues to hire military spouses. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
So
Sandra,
yeah, your thoughts. 36 years as a military spouse. Well, 37 really, but your thoughts?
I think Jody covered all the bases on that, but I think one of the ones that Stacy, I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking, but anyways, strength and being available for so many people at so many different levels of caring and sharing and understanding go such a long way for every spouse, depending on the circumstances. We all had different challenges, different children, age groups, teenagers, you know, just as now, you know. So a lot of looking to each other to cope with different situations.
Right. All right. What I know you had a couple questions lined up, John, of kind of which I'm totally interested in.
Yeah. So, you know, both of you ladies know the world we live in today, and obviously the global war on terrorism, even though we don't call it that anymore, we still are, you know, terrorists are still a threat to our nation. And, you know, nation states out there, you know, there's some rogue nations that, you know, have done some things that potentially could get us into conflict. So, and you all have lived through that. So beyond having your spouse deployed into a combat zone, what were some of the challenges that, and then what were ways that you coped as you went through this combat deployment? And if you remember in 2007 and 8, we lost 54 in the brigade. We had over 500 wounded. We were hard fighting for 13 of the 15 months. And both of you attended numerous funerals, memorial services. You visited wounded, you aided families and everything. So tell us through that, what your mindset was during those kind of times.
For me, it was, granted, all of us were in the same situation, but having 3 teenagers and trying to keep them, you know, upbeat, keep them busy was a challenge. See, I'm trying to think of what else. And just the everyday life, try to stay away from the TV set and remembering to take care of yourself was probably a big one. And not have anybody be negative around you. That was one of my big things was I didn't want to be around negative people because I wanted to stay upbeat and make sure that I took care of myself and not listen to rumors, always make sure that you get the information that you needed just to stay sane sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You know, there's an expression that I think people think it's a little cheesy, but I really think it's valuable. The military spouses bloom where they're planted. And at a time of deployment or a time of stress, to have a community and a network, not just the military community and network, but even outside of that. So like Sandra said, you can take a break. You can step away from the responsibilities. You can step away from the stress. I think it's really important and vital for military spouses to do that exactly, bloom where they're planted, you know, to engage, whether it's in their church or with their kids' school or, you know, with a wine and book club or whatever it is. It's really important to have an outlet. Certainly, we had friendships in the Raider Brigade specifically, and, you know, that were strong friendships and relationships because we were going through this very stressful time together. But having options outside of that was really vital for me. And Sandra, you mentioned no television. I just told that story the other day to someone. I still don't watch the news to this day because of that deployment. I stopped watching the news. And I don't watch the news anymore. My husband says, "Hey, did you hear so-and-so on the news?" Nope, I didn't, because, you know, 15 years ago, I stopped watching the news. So definitely vital and important to have, relationships to help you get through that. And, of course, it takes time to build those relationships. And so military spouses are, they have to dive right into the deep end and start building those relationships in what can feel an uncomfortable way. If it takes 5 or 10 years to build a really great friend, you don't have that kind of time. So yeah, it was a very stressful time, and that's how I coped.
I got to pop in here real quick. We have a comment. Nomi Burke says, military wives are essential to promote and support our military spouses, and more importantly, be an embracing and loving outreach for the young and single soldiers coming into the military. Spouses help the young and new soldiers adapt and feel loved. That is important. Plus, cooking on holidays for them relieves them from some of the homesickness of their families. Military spouses help so many new wives understand how many amazing and close military family is and how to embrace it. So, so I have to throw that out there. That's actually my ex-wife. We're still very close, but she was around for those years, in those early years when 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and we bringing the guys in, everyone from the squad, everyone from the section in, and cooking for them and having parties and hanging out, because we have a place to be other than the barracks, because in those days you stick around the barracks, it's not a good thing. So, but it was, and I think, when I talk to my friends now, they always remember, those times, like, oh man, you guys still cooking and stuff like that. And I'm sure you all have the same experiences, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And she was correct on all of them. And being, especially a young military spouse, when you're the new person, one thing that I always remembered was, bring people in. Always, I'll sit back and watch a room or an event, and then I'll watch who's being kind of shy, and I'll go up to that person and talk to them. Nothing is better than a new spouse coming in and feeling welcome in any situation, and also remembering how that felt, and then you get the chance to give back in the exact same situation. Whether it's you guys have the same age group children, that's the same, high schoolers or college, you can give each other advice. But always, definitely, she was spot on every single comment that she made. Yeah,
that's great.
Single soldiers, when they redeploy, they come back to empty barracks. And so that's something that I've done a number of times for redeployments, is making sure, in fact, I just ordered sheets maybe a couple of weeks ago, ordered sheets for the, the twin extra long mattresses that are in the barracks, so that they come home to an environment that is welcoming to them. So that it's really important. And yes, I've fed many, and that's a big part of the role that we've done, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think?
So I've got to ask you both, since we're talking about deployments and we're talking about combat, I want to ask you both a question. And Stacey, I'm going to ask you first. During that deployment, we went into combat, and within hours of our going into combat, Jody's battalion was already suffering soldiers killed in action. What was it like back home at that point in time? I think we all knew we were going into a dangerous place, and we were Swords Brigade number 4. And nobody wishes death upon anybody, but certainly the enemy gets a vote. And the Rock of the Marne Battalion was the first one to take casualties. What was that like?
It was terrifying. It was scary. When Jody first entered the Army, there was no opportunities for communication, and that was back in 2007. And so the internet was a thing, and it was a different experience, the way information was transmitted. And So like, we talked about earlier, it came very quickly to a point where, no, I can't watch the news. That is not good for my health. And I had young school-age kids who were at the age where they were understanding, mommy, is that where, daddy is that where the bad guys are? And so that, that's when I turned the TV off. So it was a terrifying time. And, we just tried to support one another. I know I just tried to do as much as I could to support the other families in the unit, to support the other spouses in the unit. And sometimes they had to support me. And that's the truth of it, that it's a scary time. And, you only, back on the home front, you get the information that you're told. Of course, we attended memorial services and funerals, and every one of them was different because the family was different. And, how they felt about the war was different. How they felt about their fallen heroes' service was different. How they related to one another was different. There were some really crazy times, and there were some really sad times. It was an emotional roller coaster. It was really scary.
And so, Sandra, I got to ask you this. And Stacy, you great segue here, an emotional roller coaster. So here we are, the brigade is in combat, and I'm calling home, telling you, hey, we lost a troop today, or we had some more wounded or whatever. And then, something that happened at home that really showed me the burden that spouses like you all bear is when the two sedans with a casualty notification team and a chaplain pulled up in front of our house. And, fortunately for us, it wasn't me, but unfortunately it was our next door neighbor, a fellow sergeant major who had been killed in action in Iraq. Kind of talk through that first initially, because you were on the porch reading a book, right? And when they pulled up, and then talk how you had to rapidly transition from thinking that you lost a loved one to now providing comfort to a neighbor and a Gold Star spouse now.
Yeah, it was tough. Talk about your heart sticking to your gut. I mean, just a regular day, running errands, getting the boys off to school and work, and was enjoying a book after doing everything. And yeah, there come the cars, and like I said, your heart sinks to your stomach, and then you find out it's not for you. But now the emotional roller coaster starts because it's not for you, but it's for your neighbor. And they had 3 children, and it was tough. I mean, I can still remember them at her door. They went in, and I can still remember hearing her cry, and that was tough. That was really tough. And the same day, you mentioned the same day you called to tell me that we had also lost a soldier. So that was a tough day. And then when you get news like that, you can't share it with anybody until it comes out officially. And you know that you're carrying this information. You can't share it with anybody. You can't even tell your kids. You can't tell anybody. And sometimes those emotions get really, really tough. I mean, it's hard. But then, you go through them, because, you're fortunate that it wasn't you, but now someone else is hurting. Another family is hurting, and you come to their aid. And that's what we do. That's what you do as a spouse. And it's a roller coaster, but there's a lot of good in that as well. So.
All right, Ron, over to you, brother.
Man, that was incredible. I mean, but from you both, thank you for sharing those experiences. But I want to switch it and lighten it up a little bit. So I have a question for you both, because I've heard the rumors, because we're on the outside, right? Like all I hear, like, for example, from Nomi, she says, you know what I had to do for you to get your 4-day this weekend? I had to go to this damn meeting and da 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 da. I'm like, okay, sorry. But what she was kind of getting at sometimes, because she enjoyed most of them, but then there were some of them that she didn't, and that was with the spouses wearing their husband's rank. Now, I know you all came from one spectrum all the way to the other. I'm just curious. I mean, those politics, is that a real thing? I mean, we just hear about this stuff, but you know, it's a language we don't understand.
Stacey, I'll let you answer first.
Thanks, Sandra. I appreciate that. Like in any situation, you meet a group of people and they all have different personalities. You know, whether they're living in your community or they're part of your military unit, whatever it is, you know, there's all kinds of people. There's the shy people and the outgoing people, and there's the people that wear their rank, and there's the people that are super humble, and there's just all of it. Yes, there is a tightrope to walk, where, you know, you have to try to just be all things for all people. And that goes to the, the point that I made at the beginning is you're this military spouse, you, especially as the spouse to a senior leader, you have, you know, many roles, unwritten rules and responsibilities. And so you try to be all things to all people. But absolutely, there are people that were a challenge to work with and to be with. But for the most part, my experience has been fantastic. I have some just amazing friends and connections that I still keep up with many years later, having never seen them. Yeah, it's like any situation, but definitely there are the challenges as well. I hope that was as politically correct as I could.
No, this is awesome. I love it, because as great as that answer is, which as y'all know, you know, this is an officer's wife. Okay, now we have, you know, 𝘊𝑚 and Sandra Troxel over here, and if y'all haven't met Sandra, she don't take no shit, right? I mean, you can see the last time John had a haircut, right? Like. So I'm dying to hear it, Sandra, because I know you just will check someone in place, right? Or as we say, on the spot correction.
You know, it's changing a lot now from back in the day as we came up. But I will honestly tell you, yes, there was some spouses that way, and if you're not a strong spouse, you can let that change you in a negative way. But if you're a strong spouse, and you know, there's so much information out there that you can go, anything you want to know about the military, it's out there. So if you want to be the wife that knows it all, you know, there is a class, there is something for you to know exactly what your role is in every position that your husband does. We do have some overzealous wives, but if anybody knows me, I am just down to earth. I can get along with anybody, but I will cut you off in a heartbeat if you're going in the wrong way with me, because I'm very truthful in what I do. And I'll also do you know, you meet people and you're cordial, even though you don't like them. My best line was always, if I had good friends and there was somebody that was, you know, somebody that rubbed you the wrong way, I would always say, hi, be cordial, because that's the right thing to do. And then I would excuse myself and I never go back that area. Yeah. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
That's awesome. We got a quick question here from old Ed Sullivan. He says, I had a question for John and Sandra. John recently retired after one of the longest careers in modern military history. However, I have read that all of the people who join the military, to include the reserves and guard, only 1 in 4 make it to retirement. Why do you think that is? And is there any shame in not staying until retirement? The reason I ask is because I have an ex who shamed me for leaving. That's a great question.
So, so Ed, thank you so much for the question. I'll start off. So I joined in 1982. Sandra and I met in 1983. We got married in 83. In 84, we did a permanent change of station to Germany. And I was young at that time. We had our oldest son, Daniel, was just a baby. And I was a little disheartened with, the unit I was serving in, and also disheartened with stupid stuff like, I'm in Germany and I got to wait till midnight to watch NFL football on AFN. And for a while there, we lived in a little German apartment. And back then in 1984, we didn't have AFN TV out there. All we had was radio, and it was German TV. And I think the only show you watched, Sandra, was Dallas, even though it was in German. And, and then we finally moved into government quarters for our last year and a half that we were there. And things started, really getting military-ish for us, meaning we were immersed in the military community more than the civilian community. But I wanted to get out because, little disheartened with the unit I was in, but also some of the other things. And Sandra, was like, well, what are we going to do? And I said, I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll go back home to Davenport, Iowa, and we'll figure something out. And she would not talk to me for 3 days. And I knew it was because she knew that the only thing I knew how to do was be a soldier. I had no skills that I could use on the outside. And so finally I told her, I said, look, okay, I'm going to re-enlist, but I want to do what I want to do. And I want to go to the 82nd Airborne Division. I want to jump out of airplanes. And we did it. And we continued to stay on. I think that the reason only 1 in 4 makes it to retirement is either one, the service member or the spouse becomes, disheartened with service. Certainly when you're doing back-to-back deployments and things like that, I think that has a lot to play on it. I will tell you that PTSD and TBI, Ron, and you and I talk about this all the time, and you and I both have our episodes with this. I don't think it's just a reality in the service member. I think PTSD is something that can affect military spouses too. When you're talking about, as many military funerals and services and how many, wounded troops that you go and visit and everything, that takes a toll. And I think at a certain point, folks say, hey, I want to go do something else. Or the spouse says we need to go do something else. It is certainly not anything disrespectful for someone to say, I'm getting out after one tour in the military or whatever. Because you chose to serve and your spouse served along with you, that's honorable. I don't care how long you've served, and I will never, say to anybody, well, shoot, you didn't stay till retirement, so no, absolutely not. Ladies, what do you think?
Another thing with us when we were in Germany, we hadn't prepared anything to move. We hadn't saved any money. I think that was my biggest beef. If you wanted to go home, we should have talked about this a long time ago. We should have been prepping for what we're going to do besides this. And I think that was my biggest my biggest fear there.
At 1 o'clock in the morning.
That was one of my biggest fears with that. And luckily, we raised our children, 3 boys, throughout his military career. And they are normal as any other child. I think they're a little bit more adaptable. They all moved away and now they're all back in this area. They're easygoing. They're first to speak up. And that's one of the things that our children learn throughout all these moves and everything that we've done. I think for John's retirement, he was ready. I think I was more ready, but it has to be the service member's decision. You never want to say it's time for you to retire. The service member has to make that choice, and he's got to come to that realization for himself. Is it my time? And for us, it was easy. And retirement life is absolutely wonderful. And I'm thinking, I don't know why we didn't do it sooner. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
So Ron, this was one of the things you wanted to touch on, was about transition. So, Stacey, what about this transition thing, being institutionalized in the military for so long and then transitioning and doing other things?
Yeah.
So, people used to ask me, I'm sure, Sandra, they asked you too, like, how are you married to someone in the military? What's it like that he's gone all the time? And a couple of years ago, I actually sat down, Jody and I did, and did a calculation, and he had been gone, whether combat, deployment, training, whatever, more than 50% of our marriage. And we were over 20 years at that point. And so, how do you deal with it, the fact that, they're gone all the time? And I always said, well, how do you deal with your husband when he's home all the time? Doesn't he get under your feet? Doesn't he annoy you? That was always my standard response. And so Jody retired 2 years ago. And so he's been home for 2 years, which is great. But that first year, I'll tell you frankly, was a challenge as we found our new normal for, how to manage with each other in the home all the time. And it's similar but different to, returning from a deployment. Because taking, for example, the deployment you mentioned earlier, he was gone for 15 months in some horrible combat situations, and he had his own mindset. And, I had my own at home. And when he came home, I had things under control. And of course, he came back with the expectation that, it was going to be back to the way it was before, that, he was going to do these things and I was going to do these things. Well, I was doing them all. And so you feel offended when they start trying to take over, these roles that you've been doing. And so retirement was a little bit similar. And I don't know, Sandra, you're maybe in the middle of this. Maybe you're not going to admit it. Maybe you're not. But there was a challenge in finding the new normal, who is doing what roles, and obviously to survive this long as a military spouse, I've enjoyed my independence and, my time alone. And so finding ways to do that a little differently was really important for me. But things are great now. We absolutely have our new normal. I mean, COVID-19 aside, of course, because the college kids are back home, and he's, working from the dining room table directly across from my office. But, it's transition affects the entire family. And it's important to kind of embrace it with your eyes open and be open-minded and have open communication the whole time.
Yeah. Let me, with you, Sandra, I have a question is, because you touched on something that, when John was thinking about, getting out, because that's how we think about it. Like the service member, we're just like, you know what, I'll get out. I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Right. That's our mindset. And you showed some frustration with that. And, now that we do these transition workshops and programs, that's we talk about is the proper planning. And, it's not that John just looked, just said on a whim, I'm going to get out this time. But when he looked up, it was like, oh shit, I only have this X amount of time. And, he goes through those processes. But at what point or how far out would you say that someone should be a family should be planning for their transition and kind of running these numbers and doing that math? So when you say we don't have anything saved up, we don't have this, we don't have that, what would your advice be to a family that would be transitioning? When should they start that?
Oh, as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Saving is your best, your nest egg. Because you're going to be buying a home, depending on what you're looking at, is a big thing. Also, getting all your finances in order, because if your finances aren't in order, you're not going to be able to buy that house that you want, which is pretty big right now. You know, getting to that point, everybody has a different time, whether you're doing 15, 20, 25, or like us. I mean, John went quite a longer time. And the whole time we were doing this, we had been saving. We had our only fallback was that because he was gone so much, and we didn't get rid of a lot of our stuff that we wanted to get rid of. So here we are with all this stuff that we've had. We thought we had a handle on it pretty good. And, you know, every time you go somewhere, you get to a bigger house and you buy more stuff. And we've donated so much, but now with COVID, we don't have those places that you can go donate to. So my best advice for when you get ready to retire, get rid of a lot of the stuff that you don't need. Because if you are buying a new home, you don't know what the setup's going to be. So that furniture might not work in that home. So my best advice would be plan for your moving, and then plan again, and downsizing on clothing, on all of that, just so that you know, once you get settled, you'll be there in your place, much happier without all the things that we still have to go through even now. And with us just retiring just recently, we thought we had a pretty good rhythm, but John started working right away, which didn't bother me because I was decorating the house, buying all kinds of stuff, even though we had stuff. But and now COVID-19, and we're having to deal with retirement and him being home all the time. But we're a pretty good team, and we have a huge home. So if I don't want to be in the same room, I can go around.
Hey, Ron, she's talking about all that extra stuff, meaning that if you're overweight, the government's going to send you a bill. And for us,
that's right. That's right.
I'm sure you know all about that.
Oh man,
I've never been overweight, not once.
That's
we really did once. Our last move, our retirement move, and never did.
Yeah,
we still haven't made our retirement move because we retired out of MacDill Air Force Base here in Tampa, so we're still holding on to that retirement move. But you know, I want to go back to the point earlier about transitioning and making the decision whether or not to get out. For me, it has to be a financial decision. And I know that it is an emotional decision being in the military and not being in the military, because service members identify in that way, but it has to be a financial decision. You know, think about COVID-19 and how many, you know, millions of people have lost their jobs right now. It's not service members are not losing their jobs. So job stability is a really important thing. And that longevity gives, you know, other benefits as well. So I just wanted to add that point in as well.
Awesome. We got a question here from Candace Day, and I mean, it's Stacy is the perfect one to answer this, because I know that you know, with what you do now, you know, it took a long time, but the question is this from Candace Day. Thank you, ladies, for your service as spouses. Stacy Miller, how do you keep a career going when your spouse is at an important stage in their career, such as command time? Is it better to just take a back seat yet again, or try to continue the juggle?
Candace, that's a really great question. And I've seen people do it both ways. And by that, I mean continuing the career progression and kind of, you know, making the choice to commit to the family and the military unit. I've done both at different times during the, you know, our time in the military. You know, even when I wasn't working rather just working in a job or working toward, you know, my career goals, I was still staying active, right? I mentioned this to someone the other day. I'm in finance. I'm a certified financial planner. And so math and numbers and finance is my game. And so I was always the treasurer of everything, just to have my fingers in that and to, you know, be a part of the community, like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast. So it can be done both ways. You just have to find that all important work-life balance, or whatever you want to call it. And if you have children as well, you know, raising children, you know, managing military spouse time as a, you know, when your spouse is a leader, and managing a career. Sometimes I put some things in the back seat, and sometimes things are in the front seat. I'm very blessed now to be doing exactly what I wanted to be doing, but it did take me, you know, all of this time to get to the place that I wanted to be professionally. And that's because, you know, I made that choice along the way.
I got a quick question for Sandra, because, this is something we actually talked about over beers. I think John was getting ready to sing karaoke or something, but we were, but something that really resonated with me was how much you pushed him, you know, to be a better, you know, person, how to compete better, you know, with, you know, what was coming up, you know, the officers and stuff. And I remember you mentioned, you said one thing that I remember, something along the lines of, you need to go to school, you need to go get your master's, you need to speak the same language that these guys do, just because they're officers and stuff like that. And at a real high level where you're going, you need to know exactly what the hell you're doing. Like, and when I heard that, I was like, holy shit, that's like, and he did it, you know, and then obviously clearly look at where he's gone in this career, and you all have had a beautiful career in the military. What made you, at what point were you like, you began to push him, and what were some of the things that you said to him that made him actually listen to execute on that? Because it works.
I don't know. I don't know if he actually listened, but I did encourage. I did want him to know that not only was it going to help his career, but it was going to help us in the long run after he retired. Right. So that was one of my biggest reasons for doing this. And when you're working with the top people, you want to understand their verbiage as well. So you want to be speaking their language. So you want to be able to talk to them, not only you know, be smart, but sound smart and know what they're saying, and know how to speak that language as far as military goes. But after the military, when you retire, you already have those degrees, and you're more marketable to compete for other jobs. So I think that was my biggest push of what was happening now, but also to remember what was going to be towards our retirement.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Ron, we got some fun questions now.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's see. Candace asked one. Let's see. For Sandra, many military children struggle to understand why mom or dad has left for service. What did you tell your children during deployments, etc., and what advice can you give the spouses?
Well, I believe our children started at a very young age knowing that dad was gone. And you explain it to them in terms of what they can understand at their age. Now they have so many books, they have the little dolls, you know, so age appropriate explanations, simple for certain children, and being honest. Kids know, and also the way you talk to them, the way you are in front of them, it's gonna carry a lot of weight with where if your children are falling apart, you're probably falling apart yourself. So if you explain simple to the point, and the last time John deployed, all our boys were teenagers, so they already knew a lot of what was going on. They understood, but in the beginning they didn't know that. And you just explain different age groups, what can happen, but that we know the dad's going to come home, and luckily we've been able to say that. So age appropriate stuff for different children. Books, movies. They have so much more now than back in the day. So that is the biggest difference for us now. So definitely.
Nice.
All right, Ron, we're going to do some rapid fire here.
It's that time, John.
Okay, Stacey, I got a question for you, and then I got a question for Sandra. And then, Ron, I'll turn it over to you for some rapid fire. Stacey, you and your husband, Colonel Retired Jody Miller, live in the Tampa, Florida area, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we been talking a lot about the Tiger King on this show here.
I hear.
So are you all friends with Carol Baskin down there?
We are not friends with Carol Baskin. No.
Okay, but Joe Exotic, was trying to eliminate her by taking her out on her little bike route that she used to ride on. And I know that you and Jody are familiar with that route, right?
We are. Jody and I and our boys run that route regularly. It's a very popular running, biking trail in the community. Maybe a 20-minute drive from our house. Yeah. Yep. But I've never seen Carol. I've never seen her cats. I've never seen her dead husband. So
And do you want to?
No, I don't want to go anywhere near there.
All right, Sandra, my rapid fire for you. So what people may not know, that being the 𝑆EAC's wife, you did multiple USO tours with me and the chairman and his wife. People may not know that you've been to Afghanistan twice. You've been to Iraq twice. You've landed on aircraft carriers. You've been to Turkey. You've been to Poland. You've been to Germany. We've done a lot. So I got to ask, being the 𝑆EAC, we're worried about the joint force, and even though we're in the Army, we had to worry about airmen and Marines and sailors and Coast Guardsmen as well. What was the most exciting thing that you did as the 𝑆EAC? Was it riding in a Rhino bus down the infamous Route Irish in Baghdad? Was it flying on an Air Force aircraft, spiraling in to Kabul airport? Or was it flying on an Army helicopter in the Hindu Kush Mountains? Or was it landing on an aircraft carrier on a carrier onboard delivery aircraft? Or was it something else? What was most exciting for you?
That looked like all of those things.
I would have to say the aircraft carrier, the landing. Well, the landing.
There you go.
Was,
you guys, she's got the Stockholm syndrome now.
Now the taking off was something else, but I think all of it, through all those USO tours, the biggest thing that I learned how much you guys do when you're deployed, wearing the equipment, in everything that our husbands, our sons, our brothers that are in harm's way on deployment. I have a better respect for all of our service members, regardless of Air Force, Marines, all of our services. I have a better respect for what they do now, because being able to see what they actually go and do, the one-on-one, and even the people that are there that have given greatly of their time to do these USO tours, it's absolutely amazing. But for me as a spouse, a better respect for what you did every day while you were deployed, as opposed to thinking, oh, they're watching porn, or the total.
Well, the shows were doing that. We know that. There was a way. Hey, the shows were getting beyond that firewall. You know the deal. You're a combo guy.
That's going down.
It's a greater respect for what my husband did when they were deployed. So
awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I got a question for you, Sandra. We'll start just since we're leaving off of here, and then I'll hit you, Stacey. Now it just dawned on me when we were talking about the show Dallas. That was a very popular show, right? Obviously it was one of your favorite shows. I I can't help to just notice the resemblance between John Wayne Troxell and JR. Right? I gotta know, are you with John because you had a crush on JR?
No, actually, no, not at all.
She was all about Patrick Duffy, I think, Ron.
I would have to say so.
Okay. And, Stacy, we have a question about Jody. When you first met, what was his pickup line, or what was the corniest thing that he said? Because I know it couldn't have been just smooth right off the top, right?
No, it probably wasn't very smooth right off the top. But gosh, I don't know. We met at he was in the ROTC, and my girlfriend was in the ROTC, and she brought me to a dining in or dining out, I forget whatever. And Jody was the acting battalion commander, and so he was up on the stage, and I said, who is that really cute guy sitting up on the stage? And she said, no, you won't like him. No, I don't like him at all. So I don't remember any corny lines, but there definitely is an interesting story to the beginning of Team Miller.
Nice. So you've always been after a man in uniform.
Yeah, no, as a matter of fact, I would have chosen another route if I was, thinking with my brain rather than my heart, for sure. It's not a life I would necessarily choose, but it's one 20/20 hindsight I feel very blessed to have been a part of.
Absolutely. John, what are you thinking?
Well, I know we're down to the end here, Ron, and before I turn it back over to you to close us out, brother. First of all, Sandra, thank you for being my Ranger buddy, my my teammate and my spouse for 36 and a half years. And I certainly wouldn't have went from that young private to being the SEAC if you weren't in my corner. And Stacy, to you are just a model of how a military spouse can execute balance in terms of your personal career, raising the kids, the boys. They're still wrestling, right? Are they still getting after it?
They don't wrestle. They just run now. Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Well, that's
yes, they did. Yeah.
And being a military spouse is still being a mother, being a military spouse, and then having your professional career as well. Thank you so much for what you do. It was truly an honor to serve with you and Jody back in 2007 and 2008. And to both of you, thank you so much for being on the show today and representing all military spouses as we celebrate Military Spouse Appreciation Day on Friday, and a happy early Mother's Day to both of you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. It was my honor to be here.
That's it.
Definitely an honor to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And just to piggyback and springboard off of that, I've had the pleasure of hanging out with both of you, just there's a reason why you're here. You do in fact represent a great deal of what it is all about to be a military spouse, and you do that to this day. You just like us are continuing to serve, and you don't let up. And I think any military spouse that I have come across, continues and still shares that heart. So, thank you all so much for what you do and what you continue to do. And I've been able to break bread with both of you, and y'all are awesome, real down to earth people. On behalf of Ron and John show and Veterans Lending Group, thank you so much for being here. Veterans Lending Group obviously is sponsoring this opportunity. If you are looking or interested in a refinance, new purchase, if you're PCSing, we can ETS, PCS wherever you are. We are licensed in all 50 states, and 90% of our loan officers are veterans. The other 10% are family members of veterans. We're here because we really give a damn. You've been to one of our classes. Please tune in to VAHomeloanBootcamp.com. We've been able to do about 6 or 7 classes per week on the VA home loan. how to credit building strategies, refinancing, and some advanced techniques as well. So tune into that. But with that, now that we've got our cool commercial out, which, you know, that's what we do. We're living it. But I've got a question for you, John. We got a build up for next week. And in fact, we got an email today that came through, and it said, hey, we know that, you know, I know that we've seen a lot of Army, you know, we did have the Marine Corps in there, but when are we going to see some, you know, Air Force and, you know, make this whole color purple, right? So, well, just hold on. We got an announcement. John, who do we got next week?
Ron, we have a phenomenal guest next week. We have, and every airman out there, whether they're active guard and reserve, will know who Enlisted Jesus is. Enlisted Jesus will be on this show next week. The Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, K. Wright, will join the Ron and John show next Wednesday. He's coming down to the end of his time as the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. He's getting ready to do his own transition. He and his lovely wife, Tanya, who are great friends with Sandra and I, they're getting ready to go through the things that the Millers and the Troxels have just gone through. So it is going to be a great show. You won't want to miss the Ron and John show next week when we have the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, K. Wright, right here on the Ron and John show. Looking forward to it, Ron.
Now, looking forward to it as well. And once again, we're hitting it off with another just knockout lineup for the Ron and John show. We had just amazing guests. Once again, ladies, thank you so much. From the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate you being here, your time.
Thank you for having us.
Out there, we love you. We'll see you next week. Tune in.
See y'all next week.